As always, Ted, kicks off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
Special edition winner and loser. ESPN ranked the top 100 college football players as we head into the season. And Oklahoma had three players picked. Number 74 and 75, Billy Bowman and Deion Burks were both selected. And then Stutzman was at number 32. Three representatives on the list. Pretty good. And Burks was 74, Bowman 73, Stutzman 32. And for Stutzman to be in the top, one third of that list, your top 32 players in all of college football, that puts him in a really good spot heading into the season for all the accolades and the attention and all of that stuff that he's going to get.
Have you been surprised at all that Stutzman has been on all these lists that we feel he deserved to be on? But I think there was a little doubt with OU making the move to the SEC. Do enough people know who he is? Does he have a big enough brand? Does his name get lost now that it's in this, kind of the massive discussion that is the SEC? But it seems like he's made every preseason list you can make.
I know. It's crazy to think
It's
that
awesome.
Bowman wasn't first team all like preseason all SEC, was he?
Yes, he was.
He was. Like, just think of how crazy it was. Like when it was at first announced that we were going to the SEC, if we would be like someone said that you're going to be going for the 2024 season and you'll have two preseason all SEC players on your defense before the year even starts. Like, I mean, we were we've positioned ourselves to feel like we would be laughed at defensively going into the SEC, and we're going to have one of the best defenses in the conference this year. So, yeah, I mean, it is kind of surprising, but he's earned that respect, and the film stands out. I mean, that does all the talking.
Anybody else that you saw on the list that where you're like, oh, great, great for that guy? Or
Well, I mean,
I've got
there's
I've got one that if there are 77 football players that are better than Zachariah Branch from USC, that guy's electric. If there's 77 players better than that guy, then okay, sure.
yeah, um, yeah. I mean, it is interesting whenever you kind of look. Like I was gonna say, like looking at the list, loser is the fact that we got to play the number one player on the entire list, James Pierce Jr., the defensive end edge guy out of Tennessee. Whenever I scrolled to the bottom of the list where it had number one, I was shocked to find him there. But I mean, there's no doubt he's a good player.
A lot of people are projecting him to make a leap this year. He's got a great get off. I've watched a lot of their tape at this point. That defensive line from Tennessee, they're going to be very good. He's got a great get off, but I don't think he stacks up with some of the top edge guys over these last couple drafts. Uh, we'll see. He's just he's a little thinner than some of those guys have been. He looks
I
a little
agree.
lighter to me.
He's great running around the edge. I I think he leaves quite a bit to be desired against the run. So I mean, that's a premium position, and to be like the elite of the elite, you got to be able to do both. And like, I think he, at least from what I've seen, a limited amount from last year, I think he lacks a little bit there, but it doesn't mean he can't get way better.
I don't. I don't think he was better than Dallas Turner was from Bama, who went in the middle of the first round. Latu, the guy from UCLA, who you and I both really like. Like, I don't think he's at the same level those guys. And I think those are the first two ed guys off the board in the last draft.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier. I can't remember where he's listed on here. I thought he was like in the teens, but I really like Scourton that transferred to Texas A&M, edge guy. He is an absolute animal. So there's some good
Scourton
players out there.
is checking in at 29.
29. He's way better than that in my opinion. But it's really hard. There's not a whole lot of separation in order to get this list out. It's difficult. But say what you want about Alabama, the list is still absolutely loaded with Alabama football players. But some of them are on other rosters that are on this list, and very highly ranked. So that is something as well.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Well, that was it. Just that we had to play the number one player on the list for all those that are going to be scanning it, because I know there's some in the fan base right now. I don't know where the panic started. Someone told me that it was me, and I don't know how that happened, but there's some panic out there about our offense and offensive line. And if it makes you feel better, first SEC game of the year, we'll be playing the number one player in the country at the edge spot.
So that's James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. He had 9.5 sacks last year. We will also be playing number 5, Luther Burden, wide
Mm-hmm.
receiver in Missouri. We'll be playing the number 6 player as well. That's Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU. We
We'll
will
be
be
playing
playing
the number
the,
seven guy when we play Georgia in the SEC championship, right?
love where your head's at. Love that, Ted. Love the confidence. Yes, possibly playing the number 7 guy in an SEC championship game with Carson Beck, the quarterback from Georgia.
Hey, Ollie Gordon's 8. What do you think about Ollie Gordon heading into the season? Like, is he going to be
I
able to replicate?
I would assume that teams are going to just commit more to the box and say, "Hey, Alan Bowman beat us."
Yeah.
I, he had
Is that why Alan
one
Bowman's
thousand
wanting more
seven hundred.
money in his NIL deal right now?
Don't put that on Bowman. Come on, man. I do think Ollie Gordon. He was. I mean, how many times last year when we were watching tape, getting ready for that for Bedlam?
Hmm.
How many times was that guy making something out of nothing? I mean,
I
he
know.
was spectacular for them a year ago.
He was great. And I think they've got, do they have like 10 or 11? Do they have all 11 starters back on offense?
Think so. Their team, it feels like half their team's about to collect Social Security. Like they are an old football
It's
team,
good.
like
It's
very
good.
old.
Old, experienced. Um, Now, I was talking to Kel. He's been up there to watch their practices, and he says Ollie Gordon looks fantastic. So
He is 1,732 yards rushing last year.
it's crazy. And
I mean,
hardly played at all in like the first 3 games.
yeah, that is. I mean, that guy he was phenomenal for them. I I like the list. Yeah, if you haven't seen the list, go check it out. It's
I
a
like
fun
what they
read.
do. Yeah.
Did you see who was at 13? McMillan, that
Uh,
wide receiver from Arizona that you and I
oh
loved.
yeah. T
He may be the
Mac.
best wide receiver in college football. That guy is an
He's
absolute stud.
crazy good. I don't know how that like what that staff is. They're going to be as good as the previous staff was. I thought they executed perfectly with their talent last year, that coaching staff. But I was surprised. I think the Fafita was like in the 60s, wasn't he?
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel's at 16, which
Well, he got a lot better as soon as he left Oklahoma.
a lot better. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's ranked ahead of Quinn Ewers and Shadur Sanders and Jalen Milrow.
Good player.
Interesting.
Good
I'm
player.
rooting for DG.
I am too.
I'm rooting for
And
him, but is he a better football player than Shadur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, and Jalen Milrow? I don't I don't know. He's played more football,
played more
if
football.
that's what the list is.
I think Dylan Gabriel, he's limited talent wise compared to all of those other players. But I think he gets I think he squeezes everything he can out of what he's got, and that says quite a bit. I like when players are like that.
I'm with you. But I don't think Dylan Gabriel's a better football player than Danny Stutzman.
No,
So I making these lists, it's really hard.
yeah,
I mean, it's
I think
really, really hard.
there's like a natural edge that goes to the quarterback. You
Right.
know, it's just kind of
But
because of how
Dylan
much
Gabriel
influence
is
they
at
have on the game.
16 and Jalen Daniels is at 40. That seems off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
Where
not
was
trying
Will
to hate
Howard
on
on that?
DG. Like I think he's a really good college football player, but it just
Where's
seems a little high.
Did you see Will Howard? Was he on there?
No, I didn't see him on the list. Our guy
Um,
Cam Rising's at 53. We love that
yeah.
guy.
Jackson Dart, 41. You mentioned Jalen Daniels at 40. Um, I'm it's interesting because there's a whole lot of Ohio State first round
Oh
or
my gosh.
offensive players on here, but I didn't see Will Howard.
You know who's at 91? Miller
Who?
Moss from USC.
I'm hey,
He played one game. He looked fantastic, but the guy has played one
I
game.
know. I know.
I
Well, there's
mean,
some guys on there that the like the Wegman kid from A&M,
Wigman,
Wigman, he's ranked really high on there too.
before he got hurt last year, I like that kid.
Yeah.
Big, strong. He can rip it.
Dude, I'm not totally convinced that LSU doesn't go out there and get 50 hung on them by USC and lose 50 to 49. I mean, they're going to put up a bunch of points, but I think he runs Lincoln's offense the way Lincoln wants it to be run instead of, does that make sense? Like from the pocket, throwing the football on time. And we'll see, though.
We'll see. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
Insurica launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
and head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
And celebrate with a Schooner All American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All American Ale, the taste of game day.
My winner of the weekend, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Schedule has dropped. Ted, are you ready for basketball season? Come on, man.
No,
What?
I'm not ready for basketball season. I'm not even ready to start thinking about basketball season. I'm not even ready for football season yet.
We haven't even had our radio dinner yet.
That's
That's
right.
this week. Let's go.
I know it.
But yeah, schedule dropped, and it just feels so good. You combine the excitement, and I think I'm speaking for myself, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of people here in the state of Oklahoma. The excitement about OU football year one in the SEC, and you combine that with the excitement of the Thunder having a really, really, really good team, being the one seed in the West last year, like, and just having this schedule drop, dude, it just feels like it's gonna be a great sports year. And that's why I was going through the Thunder schedule just with the smile on my face because so many times I went win, 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 and I just refused to say loss like essentially every single game. It's just a good feeling knowing you add Caruso, you add Hartenstein, you've got the core back, you Giddy moves on to Chicago, but it just feels it's just really exciting knowing you're going to have a good team when the schedule drops. It's just a completely different feeling. Like this is
Eh,
not the feeling I had last year. I was very optimistic, but this year at the schedule release, I'm like, we're going to be good. So let's go. I don't know. It's the first time in a while I've been super, super fired up when the Thunder schedule is dropped, just because I know we got a damn squad, baby.
I guess the only bad thing is the massive value last year in the over under win total that was like passed by late February.
I told you
It's
people hammer the over. I told you. I
it's
told you to hammer
probably
the
going
over.
to be much more difficultly placed this year. But dude, I was surprised with how good they are with uh, they play a really good brand. They've got some really nice up and coming stars. I mean, he's a superstar, a bona fide superstar. I'm surprised they didn't have that many nationally televised games. I mean, they've got some, but not. I thought there would be way more.
We've got the 11th most nationally televised games. So those are TNT, ESPN, or ABC. Got 15 of them. Now also have 10 games on NBA TV. But yeah, and Andrew Schleck, our guy Andrew Schleck over at Down to Dunk, he basically has started a crusade against the NBA. He's like, they just hate Oklahoma City. They hate that we have a team. It's like they hate that we're good. But it is,
Maybe
yeah. I
some
think
truth to
it's
that.
just, I think it's Mark. The only explanation is we're one of the smallest markets in the league. That's the only thing, because got a superstar in Shea. We were the 1 seed last year. Like Chet and J Dub are potential all stars this year. It doesn't make sense that, other than the size of the Oklahoma City market, like it doesn't make sense. And these guys are young and active on social media. And I, the only thing that makes sense is Oklahoma City's a lot smaller market than all these other areas that have more nationally televised games than us. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I I mean it. I hear you, but does that even factor in on a nationally televised game?
The
I mean,
Warriors have like the second most. So yes.
okay,
But they've got Steph Curry.
but you would also think that a nationally televised game for the Thunder would be like when they're playing Golden State. Like I could understand if, you know, whenever they're playing Orlando, that's not a nationally televised game. But I would think that any time or more often when they're playing some of the bigger markets, the bigger fan bases teams, that they'd be nationally televised. But I don't
I
know.
I'm with you. It's frustrating. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. They did
Are
get
there,
an off.
do some of those flex at all? Like later in the year, whenever do
That
they
happened
change some of
last
those?
season
Yeah.
with a couple of those, but it is what it is, man. Personally, I kind of love it because they didn't get a Christmas Day game, which the fan base was salty about. Didn't get an opening night game, which the fan base was salty about, even though the opener at Denver, it's gonna be sweet.
That'd be a
And
good
that one
time.
is on TNT. But I I'm hoping it just kind of gives the guys on this team like a little extra chip on their shoulder. Like, hey, you should have put us on national television more. We're the best team in the league.
Yeah.
You made it. You done fudged up. Like that's
Yeah.
what I hope we're saying, midway through the season.
Yeah. What, getting close to 2 months out. Um,
October
so
24th.
we don't have to have your preseason pick just yet, but start developing it.
I will start crafting it. We do have the most back-to-backs in the league. 16.
Shocking.
It's the most back-to-backs of any team that made the playoffs last year.
Hmm. I'm sure that's just you know,
Do you think they look at it like, they're still
coincidence.
young. It's fine.
Just a total coincidence. Total coincidence that the nationally televised games, the all the other big opportunities they missed out on. Oh, and the most back to backs. It's just strictly coincidental.
And I'm sure it's a coincidence that Thunder Spurs three nationally televised games. They're not trying to make Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren a thing. Not at all. Not one bit.
Yeah.
By the way, the 15 nationally televised games, only three of them are home games.
Hmm.
That seems like a wildly low percentage to me. Maybe the NBA does hate Oklahoma City. Don't want to
Yeah.
send their broadcast crews here. We're nice. We've got great food. What else could you ask for?
Oh, I can totally imagine the broadcast crews complaining about going to Oklahoma City. That's probably makes more sense than anything.
Their loss.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know why, but I could see that being the case.
OU will have played 7 games before the Thunder play their first game. I'm just imagining a world where the Thunder are about to tip the season off against Denver and the Oklahoma Sooners are 7-0. And my sports vibes are just immaculate. I'm trying to I'm manifesting it, Ted. I'm speaking it into existence. 7-0 Oklahoma Sooners win the Thunder tip off and beat Denver on the road to start the season and
Who do
just
we
flex on everyone.
Who's our game right there closest to the 24th? We would have played Texas. We would have played South Carolina. Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, I'm pretty sure because I looked it up earlier. It will
Are
be,
we
yeah,
going to
because
be?
Ole Miss is the 26th. We'll be on our way to Oxford on the 25th.
We'll be. We'll
We'll
be
be on
like.
the plane. We'll be on the team plane celebrating a Thunder dominant victory the night before. That's what we'll be doing.
Oh, I thought it was going to be. We're going to be talking about the Chet trade to wherever right before the season starts. No, we're not going to do that. That
You
ain't going to
you
happen.
you shut your mouth. My loser of the weekend. I'm going the NFC North because I think the Chicago Bears got themselves a quarterback.
I didn't
Got
see it, but I kind of read through their last preseason
he
game. Sound
played
like
he
he looked
played a
pretty
whole
good.
half. Slow start for their offense, but is playing within himself. Caleb Williams, he looks great. He looks great. He looks he looks the part. And he didn't have an eye-popping stat line against the Bengals in their preseason game. 6 of 13 for 75 yards. He did have a rushing touchdown, which was I mean, it's just one of those classic, like he extends the play, he spins, and then he runs into the end zone. He had a couple of those, Ted, where he's he's got a little gift for creativity when it comes to extending plays that it's just hard to teach. And maybe it'll get him in trouble at some points in the season. But this is the bottom line with Caleb Williams for me. There's always a little doubt when you're a franchise and when you're a fan base when you take a quarterback number one overall, especially when you're the Bears. And it feels like you just haven't been able to find the guy at the position. He looks like the guy.
Mhm.
He looks like at the very least he's going to be a very solid starting NFL quarterback. Like that feels like the floor for Caleb Williams, but it feels like the ceiling is very, very high. Like seeing him under center, just handing the ball off in zone and carrying out fakes and then running boot off of that stuff. Like it all looks good. The
Yeah.
mechanics look good. I think that he's displayed that special elusiveness that he's got, but he's also been able to play on time and in rhythm. And it seems like Roma Dunze, another guy they picked in the top 10, it seems like they developed a really good chemistry. It looks good for the Chicago Bears, man. It does. He looks good.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their schedule, and I mean, compared to what some teams get, I mean, all schedules are going to end up being hard in the NFL. There's no doubt. But I mean, it actually looks okay for them. There's kind of a ramp up. They are at the Texans in week 2. Um, but I mean, fairly manageable. They play, I mean, 4 out of their first 6 games are at home, so you get to kind of maybe get in a nice little comfort zone there. No, I'm with you. It feels like he's kind of settled in a little bit there. I haven't caught any of the Hard Knocks yet. I need to get caught up on those. Have you seen them?
You're not missing much. Not much going on.
Okay.
Not much going on. Not I wouldn't say the Bears are
Not a content
embracing the
machine.
access,
Oh, okay.
but it's I mean, there's still some entertaining things. It's got to feel so good for Bears fans to know that they've, unless something horrible happens, they've got their guy for
He's
the
got a
next
quarterback. Yep.
decade. They got their quarterback.
Which is the hardest thing to do in the NFL is to get your guy. All right. The you can't just go out and pick him up in free agency every year. It's like you've got to position yourself to where you've got a chance to get those guys in the draft. And yeah, and we'll see if this is the one for him. It's been a while, dude. The Bears have been average at quarterback for a really, really long time.
Best quarterback they've had in the last 20 years is Cutler.
Yeah. He Cutler, he caught a bad rap, but he did some really good stuff for them. Just he, not a very inspiring teammate, I don't think.
Interesting attitude for
Yeah.
sure. But that fan base has to be ecstatic, but also I wonder if there's part of them that's a little scared, like we can't mess Caleb Williams up, can we? Like that can't happen. He's too good.
I don't know. We'll see. I
They'd
mean,
rather have him than not. I know that.
yeah, as long as he stays healthy, which is like he that's the thing I get worried about with him. And even in this last game, it sounds like most of his big plays were kind of outside the pocket stuff. I really worry about him trying to live that way in the NFL. It's a long season to try and live that way.
He'll learn quickly. I I was thinking about his last year at USC. It's actually I was talking to some people at OU practice about this. That O line he had at USC was awful. The fact that he was able to produce the way that he did a season ago is I don't think unless you like sit down and watch the actual tape of how often these guys are getting beat and he's just running for his life. It was because I remember I dove deep into their tape, like trying to find snaps of Tarquin
Yeah.
when he was transferring. It was shocking how bad that offensive line was. And they've done a nice job. Paces, he's done a nice job. They've invested some in the offensive line there. Chicago, like I think we're gonna see a much better version of Caleb Williams, even though, yeah, he's gonna make some mistakes that rookie quarterbacks make, but he's just not gonna be running for his life like 50% of the time that he drops back. And I think that will result in a much higher level of play.
You don't think Miller Moss is going to be able to scramble around the same as Caleb Williams?
I I don't know, man. You mean Miller Moss, 91st best player in all of college football?
That's
Guy's played
right.
one game.
That's right.
Makes sense. Whatever. Maybe he ends up being great. I don't know. But yeah, Bears got a quarterback. That's the way it looks to me.